So I had an event to attend last month and I needed to make a dress for myself. So I finally settled for this style, which is a combination of two different styles, which resulted in this elegant and chic dress. So today's tutorial will focus on the making of the dress, from the drafting to the cutting to the sewing, literally from start to finish. Now you have to keep watching if all of this interests you. So beautiful people, welcome back to my channel, Easy Sewing with Tyke. If you're stopping by or seeing this channel for the first time, it's great to have you here. My name is Taiwo. And to all my returning subscribers, thank you for always coming back and engaging on my videos. I appreciate you all so much. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, now is the time to do so. Please click on that subscribe button. Kindly like this video, give it a thumbs up, put on the post notification to stay connected to my channel in order not to miss out on anything, and also share. Okay, you don't want to enjoy all of this goodness alone. And finally, don't hesitate to leave a comment for me in the comment section. Now let's get started. For the purpose of today's tutorial, this outfit has been divided into three major parts, which I labeled 1, 2 and 3. The part labeled 1 is the upper bodice, and then the lower part has been divided into 2, but I labeled 2 and 3, then with the sleeve, so for better understanding. So we are going to start with the part labeled 2 first. So this part that is labeled 2, you can decide to cut it as an A line, or you can cut it as a 90-degree flare. Either of the two is fine. But for the purpose of today's tutorial, I'll be cutting that part labeled 2 using a 90-degree flare method. So like any other flare, 360, 180 and the rest, there's a formula guiding it, and like any other flare, we need a radius to cut it out. So what I'm going to do is to divide the waist measurement plus the zipper allowance, which totals to 37. I'll be dividing that by 1.57 and I got 23.5. So that is the radius that I'm working with. We also need to know the length of this second layer. So the full length of the dress is actually 44. So 44 minus 16.5, which is the half length, that is the length of the part labeled 1, the upper bodice. I have 27.5. So this 27.5, now I have to divide it into 2 for the part labeled 2 and the part labeled 3. So the part labeled 3, I want it to be 10 inches long. So that's 27.5 minus 17.5. I have 10. So the part labeled 2 is 17.5 and the part labeled 3 is 10 inches. So you want to go ahead and divide your own full measurement the way you want, but this is how I divided mine, because that second layer, I wanted it to be longer than the third layer. Now that we have our length and radius, we can start cutting out the second part, which is the 90-degree flare. Remember that to cut our full circle, that's 360-degree flare, we fold our fabric into 4. To cut the 180-degree flare, we usually fold the fabric into 2 before folding it into a triangle form. Okay, but for this 90-degree flare, I'm just going to fold this fabric into a triangle form like so. You can see the edge of my fabric that way, and I'm just going to fold it into 2 in a triangle form or in a bias form like this. Now that I've folded my fabric into 2 in a triangle form or in a bias form, from the tip that way, I'm going to go ahead and measure out the radius like we usually do for the other flare, which is 23.5. From that tip, I'm going to measure that 23.5 all the way from one edge to the other edge. Now that you've gotten this part, I'll be moving this upward so we can measure out the length. So now from that chalk line where I measured out the radius, you want to start measuring out the length, and remember that in my case it is 17.5. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out 17.5 like so. I'm going to add half-inch allowance to the lower part, because remember that I'm still going to join the third layer to this second layer. So here's the paper illustration of the 90-degree flare. So assuming that there will be no pocket, this is what you are supposed to have. You can see that opening where I have my pink pin. Yes, that is supposed to be the center back. So that is where your zipper will pass through, and this would have been perfect. But because mine would have a pocket at the side, I have to divide this thing into two. So I will not be folding it this way, rather I would fold it this way. I would not fold it into two equal parts because the back has to be bigger than the front. Remember that we have already added our zipper allowance to our waist circumference already. So I'm going to fold it this way, folding out the front waist circumference and the side allowance, leaving out the zipper allowance for the back. So by the time I cut this out, the back is larger than the front as it's supposed to be because of the zipper allowance. Okay, so don't make this mistake. If you're also going to have a pocket at the side, do not cut it into two equal halves, because if you do so, it means some of the zipper allowance has been shifted to the front. Okay, so I've gone ahead to cut it out. If you notice, I did not cut it directly on the radius. I came up by ½ inch. That's because we are joining this second layer to the first layer, so do not forget that. Add all your necessary allowance. So now I'm going to refold this thing. I cannot just cut it into two like this. If not, I would have transferred some of the zipper allowance. So I'll be shifting it this way, making room for the zipper allowance at the back pattern. So you can see that one will be shorter than the other. Yes, this is perfect. Once I've gotten out the zipper allowance that I want, I'm going to divide it into two. Now this is the front, and what I have there is the back. So I'll be dividing this into two because of course you know the zipper has to pass through this. Now if your own will not have a pocket, you do not need all this. Okay, you do not need all of this like I explained earlier. So that is the back, already divided into two, and this is the front. To cut out the third layer now, I need to know what I have here. So what I have here, that is the lower part of the second layer. I have 16, and this is because it is folded into two. When I open it up, it is 32. So 32 plus 32 is 64. Now that 64, I'm going to multiply it by 2.5 minimum. I need 160. You can multiply it by 3 or more, because this third layer, we need to gather it onto the second layer. So of course, it has to be much more than the second layer, but I'm going to be multiplying by 2.5 because I'm working with limited fabric. So and remember that the length of that third layer is 10 inch. Now I'm going to add 1.5 to that, half inch to join it, to the second layer, and then 1 inch to fold the hem. So now I'm going to cut a fabric of 160 inches by 11.5. That is going to account for the third layer. Okay, and as you can see, I've gone ahead to cut it out already. Now moving on to that ruffles that is placed between the second and third layer that I'm indicating on the screen right now. I've gone ahead to cut it out also. I used 160 inch also, but this time around it is by 7 inches. Yes, by 7 inches. I'm going to fold it into two, and you'll see how I go about this when we move to the sewing machine. Now moving on to the front upper bodice that was labeled 1. Remember that I said the length is 16.5. That's the half length. So what I have there is 17 inches. This fabric has been folded into two. That ½ inch is to join this first layer to the second layer. Then the next line that I have there is the armhole line. The formula to get that would be showing on your screen. So that is the two horizontal line that would need for now, after which I'll go ahead and put in the shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement divided by 2. The shoulder measurement is 16. 16 divided by 2, I have 8. I'll go ahead and input the same measurements on the armhole line, and I'm going to connect the two lines to form a straight line like so. Now on the chest line or the armhole line, I'll go ahead and input the bust measurement divided by 4. After which I'll go ahead and put in the sewing allowance, which is 1½ inches. After which I'll go ahead and plot out the armhole curve. For the front, I'll come up by 2 inches from the chest line. I'll come down by 1 inch from the shoulder or the start line. Then on that 2 inches mark, I'm going to come in by ½ inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect the 3 points together like so. After which I'll go ahead and plot out the dart. So I'll be measuring out the bust span measurement divided by 2. That way I'll be coming up by 4½ Then I'll go ahead and measure that same bust span measurement and form a straight line like so. Now on both sides at the waistline, I'm going to come out by ½ inch and connect it to the apex of the dart like so. After which I'll go ahead and input the waist measurement divided by 4. There I'll go ahead and add 1½ inch sewing allowance and then the 1 inch allowance for the dart, okay, so that there will be no shortage in our measurement. And I'm going to connect it to the bust measurement like so. Now to the yoke. So determine the length of the yoke that you prefer. So I want mine to be 7 inches. I'm going to start taking my measurement from the start point like so, and I'm just going to root a straight line across. Now mine is a coincidence that it tallies with the 2 inches mark for the armhole line. It is not compulsory. Yours can be 8 inches or 9 inches or even 6 inches, but I choose to use 7 inches for the length of my yoke. Then I'll go ahead and measure out the dimension for the neckline, which is 3.5 by 4. I'm going to connect it together like so to give me a U-shaped neckline. Then I'm going to connect the neckline to the shoulder slope that way. On this yoke line, the 7 inches line, I'm going to come out by 4.5 inches like so from the center front. On the neckline, I'll be coming in by 1 inch and I'll be coming down by ½ inch, after which I'm just going to connect it together like so. So you just want to connect it together like so to give this shape. So this is the place that will be cut off, that will be exposed. Now you can make use of 4 inches in place of 4.5 that I'm using. You can make use of 3 inches depending on how exposed or how wide you want that place opened. So this is the yoke. I'm going to label it white. So because I want to separate this yoke and then join it together later, I'm going to add ½ inch to that part like so for joining. I'm going to add ½ inch, then I'm going to cut it out, and this means that I have to recut my yoke on another fabric so as to have the correct measurement, because already now I took that ½ inch from what I needed for the yoke, so I have to recut this yoke on another fabric like so. Now I've placed the yoke on another fabric. Remember that the length for the yoke is 7 inches, but now I have 6.5 because I've used that ½ inch. I've added it to this lower part for joining, so I have to return that ½ inch. Then I also need to add another ½ inch that I'm going to use to join this yoke to the lower part. So I need to add 1 inch to that bottom area. I need to add 1 inch. That way everything will be perfect and there will be no shortage of measurement. So after adding 1 inch, I'm going to go ahead and add ½ inch all around like so, and I'll cut it out. So this is it. This is what I have. Now moving on to the back bodice. I have my fabric folded into two. So the length that I have there is the length of my half length. My back half length is shorter than the front half length, and it is 1 inch shorter for this dress. So I have 16 inches there instead of 17 that I used for the front. Not to worry, the two sides will still match up as we progress. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the armhole measurement and roll it across. You can see that I've already marked out the zipper allowance. I'm using 1.5 inch. That is where I'm indicating with an arrow. That is where I have the green pin. Yes, that's the zipper area. So I'm going to go ahead and impute the shoulder measurement. Make sure that you are starting after the zipper allowance, not including the zipper allowance, okay? So just like I did for the front, I'm going to go ahead and roll out a straight line like so. I'm going to go ahead and impute the bust measurement divided by 4, and I'll be adding 1.5 inch sewing allowance also. Then I'm going to be coming down by ½ inch. Now it's time to plot the armhole for the back. Then whatever I have there, I'll be dividing it into 2. So just like I did for the front, I'll be connecting that 3 points together like so. You can use your free hand and you can also use your armhole curve. Now to the neck dimension for the back, using the same neck width as the front. I went ahead to mark it out, and the neck depth is 6 inches, so I connected it like so. After which I went ahead to add ½ inch at the shoulder for the shoulder joining allowance. I've gone ahead to plot out the dart for the back. Now it's time to do the back tightening to prevent the zip from bulging. So I went in by ½ inch at the zipper allowance that way at the waistline, and I just slanted it all the way to the chest area. So now it's time to put in my waist measurement. Waist measurement divided by 4, I would mark it there. I'm going to go ahead and put in 1 inch for the dart. Then I'm going to go ahead and put in the ½ inches that I took away from the zipper allowance. I have to replace it so as not to have shortage in my measurement. Afterwards, I'm now going to add the 1.5 sewing allowance to this. You want to make sure that you add all your allowance, please, so that there will be no shortage while sewing. Now I'll go ahead and cut it out. So So remember that the front half length is longer than the back half length by 1 inch, and I do not want to take in the bust dart. So what I did was I measured out 1 inch from the side of the front that way, and I slanted it all the way to the dart area so that the two sides will match up. Okay, and now it's time to move over to the sleeve. To cut out the sleeve, I folded this fabric into 4 for the 2 sleeve. So that chalked line you can see there is the cap height. The formula to get yours will be showing on your screen. So from the cap height that way, I went ahead to put in the biceps measurement and the allowance. So because there's an elastic at the hem of this sleeve, it's going to be straight all the way down. It's not going to be tapered since it's not a pencil sleeve. So now I just have to draw the curve that is going to fit into the armhole line. But on this channel, I have a detailed video showing you how to cut your basic sleeve. The link to that will be showing on your screen, so you can just do well to check it out. But this is how I did using freehand. So the sleeve is as good as being ready. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out. And this is it. Now it's time to move over to the sewing machine. So this is the yoke. I'll be turning it with the lining. I cut a lining for it, so I'll be turning to the lining. I'll be starting with the neckline first. I'll go ahead and sew it at the neckline using 1/2 inch all the way. After which I'll go ahead and notch it and top stitch. Now the next thing to do is to close it off at that edge, but I will not be closing it off without attaching the rope so that the rope can be neatly attached. I'm going to sandwich it in between the main fabric and the lining so that we can have a neat finish. So this is it. I'm gonna have to turn it out. You can see how neat it is. All I have to do is just to turn that lower part with the lining, and voila, we are done with the yoke. Now this is the yoke. This is what we have. It's now time to attach it to the bodice. So I'm just going to place it this way. I've attached one already. I'm going to measure out the distance, 4.5 inches that I marked out earlier, and I'm going to attach the yoke like so. So this is what I have. So if you are turning yours with a lining, now is the time to do so. You want to go ahead and place your lining now and turn it, but I'm not turning mine with a lining. So I'm just going to fold that part like so, and I'm going to sew on it because I am adding my trimmings. If I was not adding the trimmings, I would have used an M gum or something else to fix it down so that the stitch line is not going to show on the outer part, because it won't appear so neat that way. But because I'm using a trimmings, I'm going to sew it down like this. Then I'm going to go ahead and attach my trimmings like so. After which I'm going to go ahead and sew off the dart like so. I'm going to sew off the 2 darts, and that has been done. The next thing to do now is to attach the second layer to this first layer at the half length. I'll be sewing it by 1/2 inch. So if you're attaching a pocket to yours, now is the time to do so. I'm gonna have to fix the pocket off camera. And this is the back. I'm gonna have to couple it together. I just followed the same process. I took in the dart, I attached the second layer, I fixed the zip, but I turned the back neckline with a facing. So I decided not to bore you through that process. It's just the same thing like we did for the front. Now I'll go ahead and join both the front and the back together at the shoulder like so, using 1/2 inch. After which I'm going to input the bust measurement, the waist measurement, and I'm going to join it together at the sides like so. So if you attach a pocket at mine, you want to be careful and be filling the pocket like I'm doing, so you don't sew over the pocket opening. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the same process for the other side till I'm fine with what I have. And here is what we have so far. So the next thing to do now is to attach that third layer. So here's the third layer. I'm gonna have to fold it at the hem. I'm gonna have to sew it at the hem. The next thing I'm going to do now is to run a gather stitch at the upper part. So this is it. I've prepared the gathers. Now it's time to attach it to the second layer using 1/2 inch. So you just want to keep fixing the gathers and attaching it to the second layer using 1/2 inch like so. I'll go ahead and fix it all the way and show you what I have. So this is it. I'm done attaching the third layer. This is how it looks at the back, and here is how it looks at the front. Now it's time to attach the ruffles that is going to sit in between the second and the third layer. So for my ruffles, I went ahead to fold that fabric into two, the 7 inches fabric I cut out earlier. I folded it into two. Then the joining, I make sure it at the lower part that way. So here that does not have a joining is what is going to face us at the upper area. So in total I have 3 inches there. So starting from one end to the other, I will locate the midpoint of that ruffles that way. You can see that I chalked it. Yes, then I'm going to start making my ruffles all around. So if you have watched up to this point and you are yet to like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're yet to subscribe, please do so. Also share this video, okay, and leave a comment for me. Let me know what you think. Would you be making this outfit for yourself as well? So thank you as you do so. Now we are going to move over to the sleeve. I'll complete this off camera and show you what I have later. So here's the hem of the sleeve. I'm just folding it in for the elastic casing. I'm folding it in for the elastic casing. I'm using half-inch elastic. So what I have there is less than 1 inch but more than half-inch, so it can fit in the elastic properly. So which I'll go ahead and measure out the wrist measurement with the elastic. Then I'm going to pass it all the way into the elastic casing from one end to the other. And to fix the sleeve, I'm going to locate the shoulder area this way. Then I'm going to match up the center of the sleeve that was already notched. I'm going to match it up with this shoulder line that way. Then I'm going to sew it from one side to the other side till I have completely fixed in the sleeve into the armhole cuff. After which I'm going to go ahead and fold the sleeve this way and sew it at the sides from the hem all the way to the upper area. And here's the outcome. The sleeve has been placed and it looks so beautiful. So the dress is ready at this point. The dress is ready. And that will be all for today. Now, did you gain value? Did you learn something new? Did you enjoy the tutorial? If the answer to all of this is yes, then kindly let me know in the comment below. Hit the like button also. Share, okay, you don't want to enjoy all of this alone. And subscribe if you are yet to. You can also follow me on other social media platforms. It's Easy Sewing with Tyke. Till I see you in my next tutorial. Bye.